Welcome to Black Love Matters, where this serves a therapy session for figuring out adulthood,
loving each other,
or finding Brock Michelle,
or Jay-Z and Beyonce. Who is you?
I'm Nero,
And I'm Nyambi.
and this is episode 421, y'all. To another week. Be sure to leave a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and on Stitcher, and follow us on all forms of social media at Black Love Matters. That's black with no K.
You switching it up? Because you
gonna switch it up?
Turn.
All right.
Go.
Let me tell you about this nigga Smitty.
Let folks know. Like we going into check-in. You know,
Yeah.
usually Nyambi do it. Now I'm going first.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Smitty.
So Smitty is my new therapist that I've been going to.
Yes.
Black man therapist. He has this tactic or technique where it's confrontational psychodynamics. I'm used to CBT. I'm used to like talk therapy, like, Niram, tell me how your feelings are, and then I tell you how my feelings are. This nigga Smitty is all about confrontation.
Yes.
So this week therapy session, you know, Smitty is intense. So he's like, hello, Niram. What would you like to
wear? I meant to ask you, what does he wear? In my head, he wears a fedora.
This nigga wear a full suit. This nigga wear a full suit.
From home?
Yes.
What color is the suit?
This time it was brown with blue pinstripes.
Looking like a deacon.
Exactly. So this man wear a full suit. Niram, how and what would you like to accomplish today? So I'm like, Smitty, like I'm feeling some type of way.
Yeah.
I said, you know, I'm in my emotions right now. He's like, about what? I said, well, Smitty, you know, I just turned in my book to my publisher, and like I've been working on this book for like 2 years, like from the process of like submitting the proposal, or drafting the proposal, submitting the proposal, finding a literary agent, going through all the calls, you know, getting this book deal with a large publisher, and like writing the book. Like it's been a 2-year process. Mm-hmm. I turned it in and I feel empty. Yeah. This nigga, well, why do you feel empty? I said, I just told you, I just did all of this work. Yeah. So what are you going to do about it?
You didn't want that. You wanted to be held.
Yeah.
He's not holding you.
This nigga did not hold me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went on to say like, well, your emptiness has to do with your fear, and like the fear of not being good, and you might also have some imposter syndrome.
Not might.
So like he goes on and shit about like, well, why do you think you may have imposter syndrome? Yeah. And I was like, shit, I don't know, nigga. Start.
He's pushing against what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're trying, you good people like Niram, you be like a warm and fuzzy teddy bear, but when Niram don't want to answer something, he like the sky is blue.
Yeah.
He doesn't very want to answer. He's not giving you that. So you got to push through it.
I said, nigga, I don't know, because I'm black.
Not good enough.
Well, what else? Mm-hmm. Then him, when was the first time you ever felt like an imposter? I said, what the fuck?
Did you cry?
No. I should have. I should have just been up in there just.
I would have cried.
I should have just been all up in there like. But you know, it's confrontational psychodynamic. So I'm not the one to be confronted.
Actually, you are, but yeah.
So I'm like, well, nigga, life. Like 1986, when I came out the womb, I thought I was an imposter, nigga.
Not 86. Come on.
Tell me more.
It's the straight face for me.
It is. He have a straight face, and it's literally, he speaks like 4 or 5 words, and then we just sit in silence.
It's what you asked for. Stay on a journey.
I want to fight this nigga.
You can't. That's pent up energy. You have to use that.
I understand that it got to do with the confrontational, but like every time I leave talking with him, I'm like, this nigga here.
It's challenging. Honestly, you might not like this, and let me know if you don't go too deep in therapizing. Is he a mirror?
I don't know.
Is he a mirror to you? Like when you get in places where you don't want to move forward. We've been together for a long time, but I know it's times when I say something or somebody else say something, like you go stone cold. Right, and just limit to 4 words. So is him being a mirror triggering to you, or do you feel as if he's a mirror? Because mirrors can be triggering. I
don't know if he's a mirror, but I can tell you one thing: this motherfucker's triggering.
So you're not even answering it. You just gonna hit the mirror. Come on. All right, what else going on?
So that's what's going on with me. I feel emptiness. I feel That was the word that I came up with. And then, after it was all said and done, he's like, Niram, don't feel empty. Yeah. You're like, yeah, whatever. But like afterwards, what I don't like, or the technique he do, so we be all in the feelings, it be intense. Yeah. I be feeling like, all right, like, I don't know, I'm about to eke out a tear or some shit. I don't know, like about to fight, like whatever I need to do. Is that an
emotion?
Is that
a feeling?
It's like my fight or flight. And it's like, what is this nigga doing? And then afterwards, he's like, well,
next time.
This is what we're going to cover next time. And then he'd be like, tell me one of your favorite TV shows. And I was like, well,
please don't say Power.
I said Power.
Oh.
And then him with confrontation. Tell me why Tommy is your favorite character. I said, Tommy
is your character?
I said, I never said Tommy was my favorite character. He was like, oh, look, just checking. That's not confrontation. I was like, Method, every time I see Method Man, that nigga got me rolling. He's like, cool, think of Method Man. And then as I said that, this nigga hung up.
He didn't say bye. That is non-traditional, but I think it's something about hanging on and going for the journey at least a good month. Like, give it a good month or so. I like it. I think it's good for you.
Yeah. It's definitely a change from like CBT, like cognitive behavior therapy, or like just talk therapy. It's a lot different from that, but it's weird.
It is. It's weird. Yeah. I mean, just the norms, right, in our society. You're not supposed to push back. I think if you go to black people, we black folks from the Midwest, it's very much like, it's because I said so. What do you mean challenging me? I mean, I think about your mom's a little older, but I think about my parents' generation, who's Generation X, where that is the generation that does not like to be corrected or redirected. So I think a lot of that's playing out too. But all right.
What you got?
What I got? Well, I got one little check-in. Y'all know I'm a cubicle warrior. I'm not going to give away where I worked at. And it's Black History Month. They're showing out, but they're not showing out like what is it called? Bath and Body Works showing out, putting dashikis on candles. Child, they had an event for Black History Month. And for whatever reason, I'm not going to tell you the other stuff because y'all might be to track me down. But what happened is we ended with the Black National Anthem. Cool, right? I'm thinking we're going to have Beyonce version in the background, or Kurt Franklin, If You Love the Lord, whatever it may be. There was an employee who came out and sung the Black National Anthem. And I'm thinking, if they're going to have an employee come out, like, sis is about to be like Whitney Houston. She's about to throw down. I'm about to be crying on this computer. We're going to do all the things. When I tell you, she came out on this computer and sounded like a bad American Idol. Y'all remember the American Idol auditions back in like the early 2000s? Yeah. I knew at that moment that I was Paula Abdul. No, I actually thought I was going to be Simon Cowell and not Paula Abdul. Okay. It was so bad. It got to the point where she forgot some of the words. She was just like, sing song. Like, and she like hummed it. And me and, the other black woman I work, we on the pin. We was like, no, sis didn't come up here and know the damn words. And you virtual, you could have put it on your computer screen. And also, who invited you to do this, ma'am? And y'all know I work for a tech company. We got enough money to invite someone to come and present and do a pre-recorded.
Y'all got enough money to bring Kurt Franklin in there.
Be quiet. We got a little bit of change. But I was just done. Like, I slowly was melted because my company was doing decent, right? We brought somebody in, did some breath work, stretching, black-owned companies. Like, we actually did decent. I was impressed. Okay. And then she came on that damn stage, and I got this secondhand embarrassment that I ain't know what to do. And, of course, here comes CEO coming back on.
Bravo.
Can everyone give so-and-so a round of applause? Like, and this is him. I've never heard that rendition like that before. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, I literally was melting. But y'all gonna have to send in y'all Cubicle Warrior stories on Black History Month because companies is not playing. When I seen those candles wrapped in dashikis, I almost lost it. But that's neither here nor there. But what is here, remember what we've been geeking up, y'all. Right? We got a very special guest. And we don't be having guests, y'all. Y'all know we insular. Right. We keep it tight because we got shit to lose, right? We got jobs, we got 401ks, we got families, grandmas and them listening, but we only let the real ones in. Right. So today, our special guest is certified sex educator, dating coach, relationship expert, best-selling author, YouTube OG. I ain't talking about them people who be buying them views, no shade, but y'all know y'all be doing it. 50 million views.
What? Hold on.
50 million.
What?
We only got about 2,000. And she got 50 million.
Shit.
And OG back in when YouTube didn't have they ain't have what they have now. Right. You know, now they got the programs and you go and you click in and then you got to solicit your language and don't say me. No. We talking about OG YouTube.
Like record and then upload.
And then sometimes it don't. Listen, CEO, mother, wife, student, getting that education. Because you know there's a lot of folks out here pretending to know theory. And don't be knowing
goddamn
ain't read a book.
Oh.
Ain't read a book. Ain't listen to the book. They just making their own shit up, right? But she not.
Okay.
I ain't done yet. I'm still doing the intro.
Okay.
Daughter, sister, and a friend. And all over a bad motherfucking biddy. I want y'all to clap y'all damn hands. If you're driving, keep your hands on the steering wheel. Just turn it up. And just welcome to the Black Love family. Shan Boudran, a.k.a. Shan Boody.
I'm popping out the cake. What's up? I was getting so hot in that cake. I was getting excited. I wanted to jump in and talk. I wanted to chime in. But I was like, let me stay in the cake for my moment because I knew you were going to make it big. And it was very big. Thank you for that. Niram, I think what you're talking about is motivational interviewing, which is a person-centered therapy approach. And it takes a very insightful person who's done a lot of work to get something out of motivational interviewing. So that goes to show that you've probably done a lot of work in the mental health space, which is why you've now graduated to this form, which many people do not find success in. So if it's difficult, don't feel like you're alone, but it feels like you're there for the right reasons.
Shan, this shit hard than a motherfucker.
It's hard, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Iron sharpens iron.
Well, because you're doing the work, right? You are your own expert. That person really is just like, they're not even, you're the captain of the ship. They're just the person who's reading out the directions to you.
Yes. I absolutely love that. And then I'm still fangirling out. Like, before we let Shan introduce herself, like, I just would like to give a quick highlight of like how I first was introduced, because I'm sure folks have all types of stories. I think when I first discovered Shan, it was like on a YouTube video. I meant to try to find the exact video, but instead of finding the exact video, I want to tell y'all the emotion it struck. Right? Okay. It was something about the authenticity, the way in which she created intimacy to bring everyone in on these topics that we sometimes talk about, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, it's very kitchen table talk. Only your closest girlfriends, not all your girlfriends, right? Because some of them can't handle it, be it they Holy Ghost or they own some other type of ghost role and you can't do it. And something about that just made it so like beautiful and intense and felt seen, right? Like, it was just something about truly, as a Black woman, seeing myself in the conversations and the level of accountability that she has, that I was like, oh, she a real one, right? Like, a lot of times on YouTube or these social media platforms, folks come off as they're only the expert, and when you're the expert, there's this power dynamic goes on, right? But the way that Shan is able to shift that dynamic and invite folks to the table to do their own discovery has been a chef kiss, right? Like, that's when I knew she was the real one. I had to subscribe. I'm doing all those things. And with that being said, for our listeners who don't know who you are, not familiar, first of all, y'all better get better. It's Black History Month or Black Futures Month. What are the children's calling it? The Black Futures Month? Right. You need to do your work.
You know, these Gen Zs and Alphas may not know.
Who exactly. So who are you? Give us a brief intro. Like, let us know all this good stuff. Tell us about yourself.
I want to be respectful to the amazing intro that you gave. So I feel like that in itself is more than I would say about myself. It was just so kind and thoughtful, just as an overarching. So what I do specifically is I usually work with women to make them more confident and more competent in the bedroom. And a major thing that I notice, especially for women of color, is that they don't know how to sit in their expertise. So when they're really good at something, they're really powerful in an area, they feel like they have to shy away from that topic or move away from it quickly, rather than being like, this is what I know and here's how it contribute to your life. Let's talk about the things that I care about. So I say that to say I gave people a formula for how to introduce who they are. And I'm going to share that formula today and describe myself like that. So my formula is, hi, my name is Shan Boudran, and I am a public-facing sex and relationship educator that wants women in particular to be more confident and competent in the bedroom, to become their own sex and relationship expert, kind of like Dr. Ruth meets Rihanna. So the basic formula there is, what's your job title? Why do you do it? Like, what's the why? What's your passion? What's your purpose? What do you want? What's the legacy you want to leave? And then giving people that kind of like the comparison of two things they probably know that don't fit together, but kind of make perfect sense to them. So that's how I will contribute to your already amazing intro.
Oh, so kind. Thank you. You want to go ahead next?
Well, Shan, we also like to get up in your business. We know you got
no home training.
Look, that's why I'm here. I'm here to like bring witty banner and like before y'all get into the serious shit, I can like keep and cheerful.
Come on,
because this is low key Nyambi's therapy session.
No, it's not. I see what's coming up next.
Don't do that. Don't do me. Come on.
But no, like we want to know about you, your spouse, your kids. Like, how did y'all meet? How did y'all become this conglomerate?
Yeah.
You know what? My apprehension in general with coming on this podcast, and I think over the past couple of years, I've had a big education about where an ambiguous Black woman fits in the Black community. And the one thing I've learned is like, don't raise your hand to be the face of or to like co-opt on terms that are specifically designed for non-ambiguous Black people to celebrate themselves. And so that's why for me, I'm with a partner who's mixed with Black. I am mixed with Black. And I'm like, I don't know if we are, because when I think about Black love, I think about all of the obstacles that are placed systemically, but also socially and from a marketing perspective that keep Black families apart. And I'm like, I don't know if that's my particular experience. And so I view myself kind of like I'm a tall-ish person. I'm 5'7". And so I consider myself a part of the tall community. But if you were like, we need a tall person to speak, I would be like, I'm not going to raise my hand because my experience is going to be very different from the person who's 6'1", right? So, but that to be said, like I am somebody who identifies as part of the Black community and my husband identifies as part of the Black community. So I just wanted to say that off the top that I'm so grateful to be invited here and I find it to be very joyful, but I also don't want to give the impression that I feel like my story is the Black love story because I know better.
Oh, thank you. So kind. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was going to tell Sharon she was invited to the cookout regardless. And if niggas got problems, they come see me.
They go to East Side. There goes the East Side of Detroit. Welcome.
Y'all better leave Shan alone. She's at the cookout. Shan, you know how to play spades?
I don't think I do. I don't even think like I got Uno this year. I'm from Canada too. So I don't necessarily think it's part of like Canadian culture. I could be very wrong there, but like I'm Caribbean. So it's more dominoes and like I definitely, I didn't get into that. So
Uno and dominoes?
Furthermore.
Don't let Niram gas you. I don't know how to play a spades either. That is not criteria. Please, that is not this episode. You're going left. Talking about you play bones.
My electric slide is shaky. These are the things I just have to be very clear about.
Hey, it's okay because Nyambi got 2 left feet too.
I do. Why you putting all my business out there? Come on, get back focused.
So like, no, I'll let you go back.
Okay. So we had a couple groups of questions that folks really like wanted to get a little bit deeper around. It's surrounded a little bit around like family planning, career and love, and then we got some kind of one-off topics. So for some of y'all don't know, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Shan had her baby in her mid-30s, and I'm
35 on the nose, mid-30s.
Yes, and I'm 34 this year, and we're also thinking about taking the next leap and growing our family and really like figuring out what that looks like for us. And I've shared on the podcast that, we have an overall supportive family, right? But from aunts, cousins, and fill in the blank, I've been kind of get some left-eye looks, right? To say, well, I thought it was just Mabel the dog. I thought it was all over. I'm like, I'm 34 and pretty healthy, right? Like, why is that over? So I would love to just have a brief conversation with you when we're thinking about, like, I divide them in 2 areas, like the truths and like the lies or the myths about having a baby later in life, right? Because some of the stuff, like, I get it. Scientifically, I know there is data, but it is not like this clear cut off. And I just thought it would be a beautiful conversation for us to have to first talk about, we'll start at the good stuff, like just some of like the pros and just the truth around having a baby more so like in your 30s compared to early on, and things that you really found beneficial, right? Like to be like, oh, this was a sweet spot. Didn't even know that was there. I would love to get some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I had this question really like shoved in my face because I had not trouble trying to conceive because I never had to go to a fertility specialist, but it took me 6 months, which felt longer because we spent our entire lives not trying to get pregnant or your entire sexual life. And so you feel like you could get pregnant at any moment. You're always trying to prevent it. So when you actually go to try and you're, 6 periods in and you're like, man, this is actually a lot more difficult than I thought. But what was beneficial for me about that is I had to really be faced with the question of, did I make a mistake of waiting this long? Because I wanted to have it all. I wanted to get to a place in life where I felt 100% ready. I felt like more than anything that I had done me. I wanted to feel like if this is a new chapter in my life where now I'm second, I want to feel like I knew what it was like to really put myself first. And that's difficult when you're just trying to get, as you had mentioned, like I had been behind the 8 ball of myself for so long. So it took me a very long time to feel like I'm on top of me. And then when I felt like that, I wanted to sit in that feeling for a while. I wanted to sit in having a partner that I loved for a while. Yeah. So similar to the two of you, we didn't get married being like, we're going to have kids. We got married. And then a year into it, I was like, oh, what are your thoughts on kids? Yeah. And that was kind of the cadence of our relationship. That to be said, so when I was at this space of like, I'm 34, I'm trying to get pregnant, it's not really working out for me. I was really faced with that question of, did I make a mistake? Should I have tried to do this earlier? And I really thought a resounding like, fuck no. Like there's no version of me that would have been better off doing it earlier. And if it doesn't work out from this point going on, there's obviously there's different routes. It's never, Janet Jackson had a baby at 50. So if you have the time and you have disposable income to invest in that, it's possible. Also, there's adoption. And then top of that, I have nieces and nephews. I could have tried to be more involved in their life. There's many ways if you want to be a mom, you got a puppy, right? There's many ways to enact on motherhood if you feel like you're ready for that. They don't have to include a baby coming out of your body. So I was at the place where I was like, I am very comfortable with me not being a mom the way that I thought I would be at the expense of me waiting this long. So I think that's an important question to really ask yourself when you're thinking about trying to conceive later. And also a lot of it has to do like with environmental factors. It's not necessarily age. It's more just like how you've been treating your body and where you live and like what you're exposed to, like that can kind of up and, change your decision making. So I said to say, because I don't want to sit here and be like, everybody should wait till their mid 30s. And then they do. And they're like, I can't conceive, bitch. You made me like, you ruined my life.
Nyambi is right? Lying.
Yeah, she lied. So you have to make, honest considerations when you're deciding to wait. But as somebody who waited, there's nothing like it in the entire world. Just knowing myself, having a sense of humor about my failures, having a sense of humor about my shortcomings, and then failing at one area and having enough self-confidence to know that's not a reflection of my total character as a human being. I think that's been really important because I've never been a mom before. I've never been a mom to a 1-year-old, to a 12-month-year-old, 13-month. I'm learning every step of the way. And like, that means a lot of failing and fucking up. And so I'm grateful to have age on my side. Also, people are so judgmental around parenting. Yes. It is nuts.
Ooh, that is a toxic environment that it surprised me that more folks don't talk about it. I don't know how moms do it. Like, I got friends with moms, like that are moms and everything, but it is toxic. And it's not only toxic, but it's like supported to be, it's like they're like gassing each other and saying you're not doing everything from, I'm thinking stereotypical stuff like breastfeeding to people are judging even what you feed your child and which clothes you put on. I'm like, what and it's completely acceptable. Yeah. Like that's the thing that completely blows my mind every time.
And it's more than, you guys conceal your identity for reasons because you want to keep your privacy. You also want to keep a line of separation. Yeah. I had a certain lines of separation. And I think in general, I'm somebody who's very open. So I was accustomed to people saying personal things to me or kind of jumping over that line a little bit or peeking past that line. I literally was like, people are jumping over barbed wire fences with electric gates over top of it. And they are clawing at me, like bleeding and pulsing and being like, you're doing this wrong. I'm like, you had to go, like, it was that important for you to put me down and tell me this thing. But that to be said, I love being older because I'm just like, I'm okay if you think I'm a shit parent. Boom. Person number 7955831B. I'm okay with that. So I am like, I do love being older for those reasons. Yes. And then I do love it from a sense of you do have to put, it's the stupidest sentence in the world, but it's really more time than you expect. And you're like, that obviously I expected to be a lot of time. No, it's more than you expect it's going to be.
More than a
there's
lifetime?
Things about yourself that you're like, I didn't realize I would have to sacrifice that. But I think because I got to spend a good amount of time in love with me and loving me and doing me, I'm okay with making those sacrifices. I can only imagine being 24, feeling like I never got time with myself or got time to realize my potential or to live in my potential for a second, that now I have this kid. I could imagine myself feeling resentment. And I feel like now that's alleviated because I knew when I had decided to have a kid, I was ready to say me second.
Absolutely. And Niram and I were talking about this, and we were saying, like, well, what do we think is the benefits of it? And, like, how are we navigating through it? It was something for me that, you know, if I have the privilege of having a child, to say that I am literally to help guide and coach this human to go on this journey themselves. You owe me nothing. Right, like nothing is owed to me from you, right? Like that is completely separate. Like I'm going on my own journey. And then sometimes I reflect on relationships that I have, not only with my own mother, but aunts and just from a different generation where it's just more of a like, well, I'm your mother, right? Like it's I'm thinking about certain things. And you know, I don't want to use the word generational curses. That's so woke and make me sleep sometime, right? But like things that you want to do differently, right? To say like when you're raising your kids, and I didn't have the words, the resources, the confidence to even think about doing that in my mid-20s that I am at this point now that I can be in there. So it's just something that I'm really excited to dive in and hopefully, you know, be successful in at the end. And also for all the listeners, if y'all are looking for a really good interview, please check out the interview that Shan did with Shameless Maya on YouTube. When I talk about, again, that feeling like you're at the table, when you feel like you see these women in yourselves, and then just the vulnerability and the transparency on the journey that they went on. Like if y'all want deeper understanding of that, like it seals the deal. So just really go check that out. We'll make sure we link that on our Instagram.
You're talking about the video that's called Having Kids Old, which people were very triggered by that. So I'm born in 85. I think you guys are 86. So I self-identify as old and I'm okay with that. And people are just very triggered because maybe they don't. And so obviously it's a personal word, but I was put into a high risk category as soon as I started going to the hospital because of my age. And I had to take certain screening tests that somebody who was 30 wouldn't have to take. And I was considered to be an older mom. To be honest with you, there was privilege with that because I once missed my appointment and had to go to like the general, because I'm with Kaiser Permanente. So I had to go to like the general pregnant person room, and that shit was overflowing. It was packed. But my like older mom section, like the high risk areas, like was always really empty. So I was like, man, it's kind of nice to be old. Like there's fewer people up there. So that to be said, I identify as old because that's how the hospital system treated me. And that's a word that doesn't bother me. It might bother you.
Yes. But y'all check it out. I think y'all will really like it. And that leads to our first question from some listeners. It says, hey, Shan, what's up? We're so excited you're on Black Love Matters. Welcome to the crew. I got kind of a personal question. Let me know if you're uncomfortable answering it. But I had a baby, was it 8-9 months ago, and the sex life isn't it. I'm ready to go. My husband acts like he a little scared. What can I do to reignite this flame? Thanks.
Oh man, this is like I'm going through this right now. The ebbs and flows of sex drive is such a difficult and fascinating topic, and you throw in a kid and there's a whole other set of issues there. I love this one because it's the flip of what we think. We usually think that it's a person who just had the kid who has low sex drive. I actually really identify with this because as soon as I didn't have I hated pregnancy so much. And to share, I'm pregnant again right now, but I hated it so much at the time that when I was not pregnant, I was like, I want to do all the things I couldn't do. I want to have all the sex. And my partner was like, I'm really tired and I'm sleep deprived and I'm figuring out how I feel in this new role of fatherhood. And it's not on top of mind for me, but because my body was out of commission or didn't look and feel how I used to feel for me, I was really excited to like get back into it. So I would kind of say, like, I don't want to give you a tip of like, here's how you guys get back on the same page, because sometimes being on different pages is a fact of life. I think we have to stop assessing our sexual compatibility week to week. Like, how many times did you have sex this week? And instead looking at a year or a couple of years and saying, are we usually in flow with each other? And are we going to be off sync sometimes? Sure. But majority of the time, do we feel like we're having the quality and quantity of sex that makes us both feel good? And I think if a lot of people broadened out the timeline more and made it less like, oh, what did we do yesterday? You'll find that you probably are sexually compatible. But overall, I have a test on my website. It's called Turn On Triggers. It's just a way to communicate in the way your partner needs that you want to have sex. So what might be happening is that your partner is mentally not there because they're overwhelmed with fatherhood, and you're trying to physically initiate with them and they're like, I can't get there. So instead, having a dinner first, asking questions, setting up a therapy session for them, like giving them an opportunity to get their mind right. So then the physical can be an option, might be their turn on trigger. It might be environmental, where if the house is a mess and everything is in flux and things don't smell right and they didn't get time to shower, they're just not physically tuned in that way. And you have to know, like, I got to give my partner space to get right with themselves, but also I got to help clean up and set the stage so that they feel sensual in order to feel sexual. So my turn on trigger is desire. What works for me is if somebody is like, your boobs look so fucking hot, put them together. I want to shove my dick through them. Sorry to be explicit, but that's exactly what I want to hear. That's what turns me on. But my partner's is environmental. So if I said to him something very direct and sexual, but the house is a mess, it would just not happen. That might be a good thing to kind of assess, not just like, how do I get my partner in the mood, but what do I need to do before that so that it's even a potential for them?
Oh, I love that so much. That's better than our abbreviations. We, we're from Detroit. We always talk about cars. One of us is either a Tesla push to start, or somebody's an old Buick, where you got to crank it a couple times.
You got to hit the gas.
But when the gas is pumping, honey, it is going. But like, we're gonna have to do that for an episode. We might have to go and like take the quizzes and see if we're surprised by. We're pretty transparent in like talking about like intimacy and what turns us on and on. But I love that idea of taking the quiz. Look, y'all fill that out too, and call us in and let us know which one you got. And also take it with your partners. You ain't supposed to do this stuff alone.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
That's the truth. Actually, I love that car analogy, because that also clicks too. And it's like one layer less complicated. So I love less complicated.
Yes. Push to start, or you got to pump on that gas.
You're a Buick. And that's what we were saying. Like when we looking at each other, we like, you push to start tonight, or you a Buick? And I'm like, I'm a Buick, honey. I'm a Buick with the bucket seats.
I'm going to get you some jumper cables.
Get the jumper cables. Or if I'm a Tesla, I'm already down the street. I know you want to talk about career and love a little bit, Niram, before we get into the rest of our questions.
Absolutely. So, this is therapy session part 2. First of all, I also want to add, like, don't get therapists like Smitty.
The thing is, you are gassing Smitty. I guarantee that man didn't do all that to Niram. This is what he created.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to have you on the session so you can sit there and see how intense it be. I be in this room right here, Shan, sweating.
You do come out hot.
How intense this therapy be. So
it looks like a hot room, though. It looks like there's very low ventilation in there.
Is,
I think,
very Brooklyn, very Brooklyn.
Yes, we got bricks and shit over here.
Well, that's for good sound. I know that it's a cost benefit situation. You guys sound incredible, but it looks hot.
Yes. So let's talk about career and love. Like, one of the things I mentioned to you is like outside of Black Love Matters, right? I'm building my career. So I was recently featured in a very large magazine. I'm sponsored by some very large brands. I just turned in my first book, and I just feel like I'm
Congratulations.
in this. Thank you. It was work. But now I'm feeling like I'm having this balancing act between like managing my career and like trying to like take that career to a different level, and keeping like the intimacy, being a lover, being a friend, like all of the above. Like, how do you balance this?
It's not my therapist, but a therapist who's a good friend of mine gave me this simple model. And it basically is like a coil weave between achievement and inclusion. And he was saying our entire life we go through this. So when you're a baby, you want inclusion. You want to be with the family. You want to be all up on your mom. And then you turn 2 years old and it's about achievement. It's about independence. It's the no phase. Like, I want to do it myself. I want to tie my own shoelaces. I want to pick my own clothes. And like, okay, cool. And then maybe they go to preschool and they're in the 3 and 4 and then they get clingy again. And it's about inclusion. It's about family. And then you see how that weaves throughout life through teenage years and then back in your 20s. And so we have to also acknowledge that this continues as we get older, and our parents have to be accustomed to this weave, or as probably as dog parents, you're going to see this as well, of times where your dog is super needy and times where they just want independence. They want to try something different, and it's less about the dynamic. So there's also something that has to be said about the partnership being okay with knowing that it'll come back. Like, there's going to be seasons, and I've had this in my relationship, where it's about achievement and independence for my husband. And I just acknowledge, like, I'll try to be in on it and I'll try to be included, but I just know, I can tell by my efforts that it's not about the partnership or about me. It's just about what he wants to do and needs to do by himself as an individual. So giving space for that as a partner and being aware that the pendulum's always swinging, I think can be really beautiful, and not taking that person's strive towards legacy as a personal attack on the relationship. But other than that, balance is such a funny word because we think of balance like 50-50. And to me, it's like sometimes it's 80 and sometimes it's 20, but that's balance because maybe it's 20 and then it's 80, the next month. And then maybe it's 40 and 60 and then maybe it's 50-50. So it doesn't have to look the exact same as long as the two of you are communicating, you're aware of where each of you are at, and you know that things are always changing because that's the guarantee life was going to give us regardless. So I would probably just say it's a mix of keeping in mind for yourself that like, yeah, this is a priority of mine. I can't let it lapse, but also being in communication with your partner to say, hey, it might be lapsing for the next couple months. I still love you. I still care about you. And if I'm not being a good partner for you and I'm not giving you what you need, tap me on the shoulder. But just know that I might have my eyesight more to the left right now. But doesn't mean I still don't see what we're doing together.
Exactly.
You hear that?
Well,
Let me shine.
I do.
Let me shine.
Is that what you mean? It's a therapy session for me?
Yeah,
what are you trying to get
let me shine.
You told this me, yeah. No, you was trying to say this, record it, and play it back.
Absolutely.
I hear you.
Let me shine.
Listen, I receive it.
Oh shit! I don't even know what to do with myself. So,
but I want to say also, you're giving space for your partner. Yes. Basically, what you're saying is like, I'm usually very tuned in with your needs. Right now, my balance is a little bit off, but that just means my partner may have to be more vocal than usual.
Yes.
So that's also permission for you to be like, hey, you've worked for 10 hours. I need an hour of your time. Exactly. And not even feeling, because sometimes we can feel resentful about asking for our partner for what feel like basic intimacy needs. But during those times you may have to, because the other person, again, like you're just acknowledging that their focus may not be on the relationship. It will be, and it will come back because you guys love each other and you have an incredible connection, but there's seasons for everything.
That's so true, right? And I think that even goes back to like, I think we have to think about it in the intimacy, right? But that even goes back to the business of our relationship. I think a lot of times people ignore that your relationship can be a business. And we had to do a thing, Shan, where we literally had to have meetings every so many weeks to be like, how do we handle the business of our household, right? Like you've been doing X, Y, and Z.
Yes,
we say
we're
navigating through this. So what does this mean? Like I cannot be the head of operations alone in this household. Or if I am, this is what I need to be successful. And I think that was the thing that tipped us into the area where I was like, oh, this is successful. We can do this because we were able to take that moment instead of when you laying your head down or coming in from a run. And I'm like, by the way, and you're just like, I don't know what we want to do. So that is to it, right? Like I think the same way in which we operate in that way, that you have to plan out. I think also the other secret is people don't tell you sometimes you got to plan intimacy, all types of it, right? Everything from going out to dinner, having sex, like everything. I'm noticing the longer we've been in a relationship, you have to be so intentional about it. Like even relating to parenthood, right? Like you think about these amazing experiences that you might have had as a kid. That was curated, right? Like it just didn't happen, right? Like somebody really thought about what that meant. And I don't think I ever had anyone explicitly tell me that, right? To say, again, I buy into the fact that you have to curate the life you want, but like you really have to sit down and curate all these aspects of your life to get to this point. And giving myself the permission to make time to make those plans and do all those things is very, very true. I so receive it.
I think that's a huge step forward in maturity too, because we're just taught and fed this message that when we meet the right person, they'll just know. And every Disney movie ends at the wedding, right? And it's happily ever after. And there's no dialogue. There was barely any dialogue about boundaries and timelines and expectations, hopes, dreams, motives, long-term goals beforehand anyways. But like, there's an expectation that like, well, it's their perfect person, so they don't have to have those conversations. It's their perfect person, so they don't have to schedule things because they're going to naturally be on the exact same timeline and they're always going to want to have sex at the same time from death till they part. So I think the maturity of admitting that you have to be more intentional is really huge and also really inspiring.
Yeah. And it's something else that I, even as we're been together longer, getting a little bit older, living a more life, is actually like standing behind the practice of leaving space for you to evolve into a different person. Right? Like it's something about like, well, when I first got with you, you did X, Y, and Z. And like, no one tells you that you have to carve out space for your partner to completely evolve, to be something different. Right. And again, I don't mean that in a toxic or a negative way, but like no one ever like points that out. Cause I think about the evolution of us and like who we were and where we've been. And if we didn't create that space, cause we necessarily weren't growing at the same pace. Right. Like there was moments, I think professionally, I was doing one thing and then you were doing a creative route. And I'm like, we from the Midwest, go to school, get a good job. I want to retire, where my dog at, right? Like we weren't doing these things. And it was, right? If we didn't allow that space space for each other to ebb and flow and flex, it would have been like a battle. And I would agree everyone went on board with that, right?
No,
like,
absolutely.
And my parents love you and they love me, but they like, what Niram do? He said he wouldn't be the social media. He live on Facebook. Like, that's what they say. He lives on Facebook? I said, well, it's not the metaverse, but similar to that.
But now with the brand deals, you think, look.
Can I get that?
You think Niram can
get a little extra?
Hey, I know what I want for Christmas, Niram.
Now they said the Christmas looks like they kids.
Right.
Oh my goodness. This has been such a good conversation. I know we got a couple more questions from listeners, and then we're going to head on to let Shan so she can tell us what she's doing, where we can find her, contact her, anything she's got going on, because we want to support all the way. So the first one is there a way to inform your partner if they're not turning you on sexually or without putting them down, making them feel bad? I've had a couple instances where I've tried to hint at it, AKA move their head to the left, slow down, baby, put on a negligee, but it's just not working. They're not hitting it for me like they used to. Any advice?
Oh, I actually have gotten this question a lot of late, and I think that's a good thing because people are now not accepting lackluster sex, and they're not accepting that things aren't what they used to be. They're like, no, I should continue to feel the same passion, excitement I did in the beginning. We have to be more intentional about it. And so I love that this question is coming up. I think it's actually a step in the right direction. So the fact that you're asking it, first of all, kudos to you. Yeah. I love that you come up with some creative ways. I'm a big fan of don't yuck. Yeah. It's to yum rather than yuck. You can say to somebody, you bite when you kiss. You could say, I love it when you use tongue, and it's all mouth when you kiss me. It turns me on so much. Probably accomplish the exact same thing without making somebody feel like they have a complex to worry about. That to be said, if you're continue to try creative methods, like, ooh, I loved it when you did this, even if they didn't do it, sending them a porn that, shows what you like. Say, oh, this came across my desk. It really turned me on. What do you think? Or can we watch this film together? Other erotic content that you can share with them that really was really steamy for you. Mm-hmm. Package things in a dream. I had this dream last night about you and me. It was so hot and explicit, and then go into detail about like what you're looking for. So continue to find creative ways to describe what you want from your partner and what you're looking for. You can also frame things into role playing if that's something that you guys are into. But if it gets to a point where you're trying all the creative methods and it's not working, then I think that vulnerable moment that you shared, which is like, I love having sex with you. I am so super turned on by you. I love what we do. It feels incredible. Here's what I think would make it feel a little bit better for me because I've been feeling off. Something is shifting within me, and I just want to get back on track. Here's how you can help me. So again, it's a way of like letting them know what they're doing wrong, but still taking it on to say like, we're in this together. But it can be very difficult. Yeah. Those conversations are hard, and I love that you're being creative, but just because the first 3 things didn't work doesn't mean you're not on the right track.
Exactly. No, I think that's spot on. I'm so glad we have the expert here. This is me. Don't tell them, maybe not tell them after sex. Like sometimes you got to be in different conversations, like not laying next to them to like, fuck, I'm going to bed. Right. Like, I don't know if you make him, what's his favorite meal or favorite thing he like to do, and be like, hey, by the way, what do you think about Niram say I always do the sabotage attack.
Nayan be always trying to give me a shit sandwich or whatever.
I'm not doing shit sandwich.
It's like, ooh,
don't bring my HR
compliment sandwich.
Ooh, Niram, I know you like carrot cake, baby. I got you carrot cake from your favorite place. You like that carrot cake? Mm-hmm.
Be quiet.
You know what I like?
Shut up. Not you know what I like. Don't do that.
You do. Get me. Oh, you would like something? Well, I like my back to be rubbed 4 times.
Not 4 times. Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise.
Coconut oil.
Bring it on down with a little coconut oil and rub it in.
Please.
That's
oh my goodness, you are showing Alan from the company. What did I tell you not to do? It's one more question. It says, Shan, what's on your nightstand? What books do you recommend? Toys, or just overall, what do you do kind of in your free time? Would love to know. Big fan. They tried.
Well, as a mom, you don't really have a lot of free time. I'm a young baby, which is the most annoyingest response. But I say this like not just because it's so much fucking work. But that to be said, there's this new app that I just got that's called Blinkist, and essentially it has like 5,000 nonfiction books that you like. Boundaries from Nedra Tawwab is on there. I just finished that book, and then it's got Connect, Rich Dad Poor Dad, like all those kind of like, oh, I've been meaning to read that nonfiction books, but it breaks them down into 15-minute audiobooks and just gives you like the key points from them. So I listened to something that was like about how to like expand the capacity of your brain. I listened to it while I was like taking my kid for a walk on the street. So that's actually pretty bomb. And they had a couple of books on sex and relationships. They have a few. Dan Savage is on there. So that's actually a really good service in general. That's on my nightstand, which is my phone actually is no longer on my nightstand. I stopped sleeping with my phone in my room about a year ago. It was the best decision for me. But yeah, and honestly, with pregnancy, my sex drive is so incredibly low that I cannot even tell you about good sex toys because I have no desire at all to even look at my genitals, let alone blow air on them. So
you deserve air, Shan. You deserve air.
Do you know what's on my nightstand right now? Actually, a really good foot cream because I got very, very dry, cracked heels. And it was a thing that just kept bothering me every single day. Like I'd walk on the floor, I'd hear them, or I'd move in the sheets and I would hear them. And I'm like, why don't you do something about that? So then I got this like medicated foot cream and I put it on my heels every night. It's like a nice thing I do for myself. So that's on my nightstand.
Absolutely. I love that so much. You better go ahead and wrap us on up.
Yeah. So Shan, what you got going on? Like,
yes.
Let us know what you got going on in this world.
Well, listen, I know that the Black Love podcast family is very busy, so I'm making one wish and one wish only, and that is to listen to my podcast, Lovers and Friends. It is the best work that I've done by far. As I mentioned to you guys, I'm new to the audio community. I just started my podcast in October, and now that I'm here, I'm like, what took me so long? I love it. I love the audience. I love the way that we can put together conversations. I love the fact there's less pressure for video, so I find myself being able to be more creative. And just give more. Every episode has a minimum, I would say, of 10 perspectives, which is my audience, the guest, the third segment, which usually has 2 or 3 people. We usually have a couple of experts who just pop in for a minute or so. It's just such an incredible opportunity for me to have the conversations around sex, love, and relationships in a way that I don't think I've been able to before. So Lovers and Friends, the podcast, that is my one request. If you listen to one episode, they're topical based, so you can pick the topic that you feel you want to dive into most right now. And hopefully that inspires you to follow along. But if not, thank you for your time with the one. That's also huge.
Didn't you just have a clip go viral? Didn't you have like a dude talk about?
I did, yes.
Is it food?
Yes, I did.
If it's food, don't even bring it up. Because, I protect me and mine at all costs.
Asked this nigga, like, you want to be all this polygamy shit. Are you ready for your significant other to get dick down? And that nigga said, hell?
Don't do that. Because he might have caught him off guard. It might have caught him.
You know
off
what?
Guard. It might have caught him off guard.
It didn't. I'm going to say in full disclosure, that was an interesting. I framed it in a way of like, listen, non-monogamy is not easy, and we're not given positive examples. So starting it is not easy because who do you go to talk to about it, and how do you figure out what the most ethical way is, especially if you have no examples? And so that conversation almost caught me off guard because at my podcast, the guests volunteer what they want to talk about. Exactly. So I don't bring you on and say, we're talking about the kinkiest night you've ever had before. You'll say, I had a kinky ass night. I want to talk about that. So that guest had posed, I want to talk about non-monogamy. And I was like, great. So we had this, and I was assuming because he had brought that up, that it was like dual partner non-monogamy. So we're having this conversation and maybe minute 20 into it. I was just like, well, let me ask the question because I know the answer is yes, because they were just talking about how much freedom and how much self-realization they had through identifying themselves as being a consensual non-monogamous person. Like, okay, so for you, would you be cool if your partner also engaged? And they were like, no. And then they said, let me just say, I haven't experienced it yet. And then went on to kind of give a further explanation as to why it's a no for them. And it actually turned into a really interesting discussion. But the clip that went viral is just that person kind of framing it like, this is what makes me feel good. And then me being like, cool, I'm happy for you. Would you feel cool if your partner did the same? And then they said no. And that's kind of where it went.
Yeah, and then everybody looking at them like they haven't read Ethical Slut. Like, come on now, get on the journey.
I don't think that he's read Ethical Slut. So it was a good call to action, though, I hope.
You always
a viral clip will do that for you.
That's why I said, folks always, I'm also pretty protective around, like, especially even like other Black women when it comes around any viral clip. I'm like, hold on, pause. What they saying? Because they always trying to create some type of image or dialogue that we the boogeyman. So like, I'm always super protective of that. I'll let you slide.
What you talking about? I seen it and I was like, oh, subscribe.
Did you say subscribe? There you go, toxic. All right, Shade Room. Come on.
If niggas getting look, if Smitty getting my ass, I want to see other niggas getting their ass too.
That is him. Watch Turn Up Events. It is
comments
Smitty.
got his ass.
Oh, I know the comments got him
shit.
together. I know single-handedly. Perfect. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, Shan, we really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, you at the kitchen table.
Yes.
You at the cookout. We're gonna teach you how to play spades.
Thank you.
Shut up.
We'll definitely get some Uno going. But like let the people, what people should already know, but like let them know how else they can find out about
Instagram,
you.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'll just say it's Shan Boody with a D, because my last name's Boudram. Play off my last name, not my anatomy. I got a flat ass. But yeah, everywhere online is Shan Boody.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you again.
As always, to submit your Black Love story, go to blacklovematters.com. To submit a question for Kitchen Table Talk, shoot us an email, blacklovematters@gmail.com. Remember, that's Black with okay. And to leave a comment about anything we talked about, we got that SoundCloud, we got that website, and you got that voicemail at 508-784-1111. Once again, that's 508-784-1111. Talk to you later. Remember, love is ever evolving. Peace.